Someone cooked here.
Yo, what is up YouTube, Noezone here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the newest movie in the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy Vol.3. It is directed by the one and only James Gunn, and in this installment of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, we follow our favorite ragtag family in the MCU as they rally to defend the universe and protect one of their own, and if the mission is not completely successful, it could possibly lead to the end of the Guardians as we know them. But that's basically the rundown of the synopsis before I get into what I think of the film, and this will also be a spoiler-free review, starting with what I wanted going into Guardians of the Galaxy Vol.3. And first up, I finally wanted to see an MCU movie that released after Endgame that was genuinely great besides No Way Home. Because while I think that Shang-Chi and Wakanda Forever are pretty good films, at the end of the day, everything else just fell short or was just straight up bad. So I was really hoping that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 would be that second great film that Marvel desperately needs right now. Next, I wanted to see James Gunn prove once again why he's such a big asset to Marvel Studios, and why Disney initially firing him back in 2018 was a big mistake. Especially because that's probably a huge motivator why he's actually going to DC Studios now. But lastly, I wanted to see some great conclusions for every member of the team, and for those conclusions to not emotionally wreck me too much. But now to move on to all of the things that I liked about Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3 after watching it. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all that I absolutely love this movie, so there's going to be a lot of positives. And first up is the story that James Gunn wrote for this film, because damn did he cook up something great with this one. And in my opinion, a lot of that is due to the much bigger role that Rocket was given compared to Guardians 1 and 2, which allowed him to be the heart of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. His very tragic and emotional backstory ties the entire film together perfectly. It also makes this film one of the darkest we've ever seen in the MCU. It gives so much context to why Rocket is the way he is, and it makes you absolutely hate the High Evolutionary, who by the way makes for an excellent villain to end off the trilogy with, thanks to a great performance by Chukwudi Iwuji, and he is definitely a top 5 MCU villain in my eyes. The story also had a great conclusion that made so much sense in the context of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy as a whole, and I'm definitely not going to say any more about that because anything I say would be a spoiler. But next up, I want to talk about the acting, and every single person on this cast gave at least a good performance. There were just no weak links in my opinion. But the standouts for me were definitely Bradley Cooper as Rocket, Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Gillan as Nebula, Dave Bautista as Drax, Pom Klementieff as Mantis, and Chukwudi Iwuji as the High Evolutionary. So basically all of the main cast brought their A game to this film. But next I want to talk about the characters. And like I was saying earlier, the character work that James Gunn pulls off with Rocket in this film was absolutely amazing. But he's not the only one that had a great arc to end off the trilogy. The rest of the Guardians also prove why they are some of the best written characters in the entire MCU. And I can't really give any details on the character arcs because they would be spoilers. But next I want to talk about the direction. And James Gunn directed Guardians of the Galaxy 3 perfectly. Almost everything that he pulled off in this movie should be the blueprint for every MCU trilogy in the future. From the story and character work, the performances he pulled out of his very talented cast, and the cinematography, especially the action scenes. And speaking of that, there is roughly a 5-minute sequence featuring all of the Guardians, and that scene is by far one of my favorite comic book movie action scenes of all time. And the song that they picked for it was a chef's kiss. So I just gotta give some major props to James Gunn for giving us that. But next I want to talk about the visuals. And this movie without a question has the best CGI since Endgame, which is super refreshing not having to put the visuals to an MCU movie in my negative section, like I have with most of Marvel's recent releases. But next I want to talk about the sound. And this movie had some pretty good sound design for the most part, especially in one part of the movie where there are a ton of explosions. Like that shit was rumbling my back like a massage. But next I want to talk about the pacing. And for this to be the longest Guardians of the Galaxy movie at 2.5 hours, I really didn't feel the runtime to be honest. This movie felt very well paced to me and it doesn't give you much time to breathe. One scene will have you cheering and then the next one will have you crying. James Gunn just really knows how to make his films move from scene to scene very well. And everything feels necessary, which is something that I've recently noticed about a lot of James Gunn's comic book movies. But next I want to talk about the emotional value. And from my experience, I was pretty emotionally wrecked walking out of this movie. I think I cried at least 3 times, and a lot of that emotion comes from the love that James Gunn has made me feel for every single one of these characters over the years. Like, it's super hard to believe that the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out in 2014, almost an entire decade ago. But lastly, I want to talk about the entertainment value. And this movie will definitely entertain you just as much as Guardians 1 and 2 did, if not more in some aspects. I will say in terms of entertainment value that it beats out most of the movies that have come out after Endgame. Honestly, its only real competition is No Way Home, and it accomplishes a lot of that entertainment by being hilarious. Especially the car door sequence with Star-Lord and Nebula. But moving on to the things that I felt mixed about in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And there was really only one thing that I was mixed about, with that thing being Will Poulter's Adam Warlock. And the reason why I put him here is that he just felt kind of disappointing, especially after 6 years of build-up from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But I will say that he wasn't bad by any means. He definitely wasn't the disappointment that MODOK was in Quantumania. He actually has an awesome introduction into the movie, and I enjoy what they did with his character by the end of the film. But moving on to the things that I did not like about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and if I'm going to be honest, I don't have any negatives. There wasn't really a single thing that I just flat out hated or didn't like, which makes me a very happy Marvel fan at the end of the day. But now to get to my final thoughts of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I absolutely love this movie. It has even more heart than the first two films, which I didn't think was possible. It left me broken emotionally, but also had me smiling and laughing throughout. It is my favorite in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and one of my favorite movies in general in the MCU. It's also one of, if not the darkest film in the MCU. The High Evolutionary is a very hateable villain, and most of all, this is the perfect send-off for our Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn really capped off this trilogy with a bang, and with how good this movie was, I can't wait to see what he does with Superman. Which leads me to my overall scoring of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where I gave the story a 5 out of 5, the acting a 5 out of 5, the characters a 5 out of 5, the direction a 5 out of 5, the visuals a 4.5 out of 5, the sound a 4 out of 5, the pacing a 4.5 out of 5, the emotional value a 5 out of 5, the entertainment value a 5 out of 5, the casual score a 4.5 out of 5, and all of these points on my scale round out to about 47.5 out of 50, but I'm just going to round it up to 5 stars because I love this movie so damn much. Overall, if you've liked the Guardians of the Galaxy movie so far, you are going to love this movie as well. Just make sure to see this on the biggest screen possible and bring lots of tissues. But anyways, if you enjoyed my review, make sure you leave a like on the channel. It really helps out the channel a lot. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content like this, and so that you never miss a video. Make sure you share the video with a friend if you think they would enjoy it as well. Leave a comment with your thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Noezone. And as always, guys, it's been Noezone. Peace.